When you stand completely still, your mind doesn't just rest, it actively works against you, filling the empty space with a vacuum of self-doubt. There is a direct, mechanical link between time and anxiety. The longer you wait to act, the larger the obstacle appears. Hesitation actively magnifies the fear you feel. In this static state, your greatest internal weakness takes over: self-deprecation. You begin to underestimate your own intelligence and overestimate the intelligence of everyone else around you. It is an active sabotage of your natural abilities. That rising panic is not empirical proof that you lack the skill to succeed. It is a biological symptom of your refusal to move. The Stoic philosopher Seneca observed a specific paradox about human effort. We tend to believe we are avoiding certain tasks because they are difficult, but the reality is the exact reverse. They are difficult because we do not start them. There is a sharp difference between a task that is objectively complex, like engineering a bridge, and one that is subjectively terrifying. The terror is almost entirely manufactured by your own inaction. Take a single physical step forward, and you force the mind to process reality instead of worst-case scenarios. That immediate physical feedback instantly collapses the perception of danger. Difficulty is a starting line illusion. It exists right at the threshold to test whether or not you have the resolve to begin, rather than acting as a permanent characteristic of the actual journey. Philosophical observation only gets you so far. To actually break out of paralysis, you need a physical mechanism. You cannot wait to feel confident before you move. Acting right physically generates confidence. The body moves, and the mind is forced to catch up. This is where the 2-minute rule comes in. During the key, critical moments of your day, you bypass the brain's resistance by committing to just 2 minutes of a given task. By forcing movement at the exact moment fear is at its peak, you secure the most significant long-term progress. You are training yourself to act regardless of the resistance. You do not need bravery to start. Confidence is never a prerequisite. It is a manufactured byproduct of taking decisive, uncomfortable action. Taking that first action generates a spark, but relying on random sparks will burn you out. You need an operational framework to sustain that momentum every single day. This formula outlines the required variables. The first 2 are defining clear goals and a strict routine. Next, the equation adds a temptation-free environment, removing distractions that drain focus. Finally, tracking daily micro-victories yields a closed-loop system of total accountability. To maintain this system, you must operate from a document, not from thought. When you write the plan down, you remove the burden of deciding what to do next based on how you feel. When you look at it mechanically, true discipline isn't a brutal, grueling test of willpower. It is simply an engineered formula that anyone can balance. If you balance that daily formula long enough, you exit the phase of mere survival and enter a long-term mathematical trajectory. This is a chart showing the exponential growth curve of compounding effort. The absolute first rule of compounding is that once you start the chain, you never interrupt it with extreme necessity. Even a minor gap crashes the momentum back to the baseline. Reaching for fast, unearned pleasure directly sabotages this curve. The quicker the gratification, the more violently it contradicts your long-term goals. This constant attrition creates what is known as the last mile phenomenon. The final stretch to any major goal is always the least crowded, simply because very few people can tolerate the boredom of unbroken consistency. Ultimate victory rarely goes to the person who can produce a few chaotic bursts of high effort. It belongs to the person who refuses to break the chain. If you measure that victory purely by material acquisition, you will hit a ceiling. Constantly asking, "What am I getting out of this?" is the wrong operational question. The required shift is to focus entirely on identity transformation. Instead of asking what you are getting, you must ask, "What am I becoming?" This shift in focus explains a common plateau. Income rarely exceeds personal development. Your external results are limited by the person you have trained yourself to be. Once the person grows, the results follow. When you maintain an unbroken chain of effort, your transformation from a state of hesitation into your highest potential becomes a predictable result of your daily actions. You aren't hoping for a change. You are actively building it.